"That stroller is too loud." That's what she yelled. The kind of shrill, cutting voice you never forget, not because it's powerful, but because it's so petty you almost want to laugh. Only this time, nobody was laughing. Not when Margaret Thompson, our self-appointed neighborhood Karen, grabbed my baby's stroller and hurled it right into the street. You could hear the crunch, the kind of sound that makes your heart stop for a split second, right before bottles, toys, and a whole lot of dignity spilled onto the asphalt and cars started swerving, people shouting, chaos everywhere. "Maybe now you'll control that noisy baby," she snapped. She had no idea she'd just messed with the undercover CEO who owned half the county. Yeah, that happened. But let me back up a sec. I'm Lauren Carter, new mom, and, secretly, the CEO of Carter Holdings, the company that quietly owns 60% of this county, including the land under Willowbrook Meadows. But on that morning, all I was Emma's mom, taking my 3-month-old for her usual stroll, trying to coax some peace out of a night full of crying. You know what I mean? The wheels squeaked a little, sure, but it wasn't anything loud. And Emma's cries? Honestly, just normal baby stuff. Nothing that should have set off a neighborhood crisis. Margaret, though, lived for drama. "That's what happens when you violate the noise ordinances," she said, hands on hips, looking proud. Apparently, I'd broken her rule about no strollers or babies outside before 10 a.m. She'd even printed fake HOA flyers about it, color-coded and everything. Other neighbors started peeking out, some shaking their heads, others pretending not to see. And in that moment, holding my crying child, watching her favorite things scattered in the gutter, something inside me clicked. Enough was enough. Margaret had made my life miserable since we moved in. She'd called the police at 2 in the morning over baby noise, issued $500 fines for baby toys on the porch, $300 for drying Emma's onesies outside, even $600 for lullabies too loud at bedtime. Over $3,000 in fake fines, every one of them about as legitimate as a $3 bill. My husband, Sam, tried reasoning with her, but Margaret just doubled down. "If you can't follow the rules, maybe you don't belong here." Destroying my baby's stroller, though, that was the last straw. Standing there, cradling Emma, I pulled out my phone and called an emergency meeting. "Protocol 7, I said, barely above a whisper, but with enough edge to cut glass. "Full board. I want legal and media teams on the ground in 30 minutes. Rebecca, my assistant, didn't hesitate. "Do you want the county commissioner too?" "Oh, absolutely," I said, watching Margaret launch into another rant about property values. What Margaret didn't realize is, I'd been undercover, collecting evidence for months, documenting every fake rule, every extorted fine, every family she bullied into leaving. The Rodriguez family, gone, after $8,000 in tricycle fines. The Changs, forced out over $12,000 for twin baby noise. All part of Margaret's grand plan to turn Willowbrook into a sterile, childless paradise. That's what she told Mrs. Kim one afternoon. "We should be a mature, peaceful community." The subtext was clear: no kids allowed. Just 20 minutes after the stroller incident, 3 black SUVs rolled up. Outstepped my legal team, suits, briefcases, cameras. Margaret, still riding high, stormed over, demanding answers. "Who are you?" she barked. "Legal documentation, ma'am," said Tessa, my head of legal. "Recording evidence for a corporate suit." "Corporate lawsuit against who?" "Against you, Margaret Thompson, and the Willowbrook HOA." And then, the penny dropped. The color drained from her face when Tessa said, "Our client is Lauren Carter, CEO of Carter Holdings." It was like watching a balloon deflate in slow motion. "She's just a nobody with a noisy baby." Margaret sputtered. My executive team surrounded me. I was still holding Emma, but now I held the cards, too. "Hello, Margaret," I said, steady and cold. "We need to talk." My legal head laid out the charges: destruction of property, harassment, creating fraudulent HOA rules, discrimination. Margaret tried to bluff her way out. "I was just enforcing standards." "There are no standards banning baby strollers," Tessa shot back, and the whole crowd could see the tide turning. News vans started arriving. The county commissioner showed up, apologizing for not catching the abuse sooner. "That's exactly why I came undercover," I told her. I needed to see how families are treated when no one knows they have power. By noon, the story was everywhere. Margaret's tantrum went viral. The image of Emma's broken stroller became a rallying cry for parents across the country, and Willowbrook Meadows turned into ground zero for the fight against HOA abuse. Justice for Emma trended nationwide. People sent flowers, letters, even new strollers. Digging deeper, my team found that Margaret hadn't just bullied families. She'd stolen over $125,000 from HOA funds, funneled kickbacks from shady contractors, and secretly bought homes from families she'd forced out, reselling them for profit. She ran the HOA like her own fiefdom, keeping kids out and the money flowing in. Real estate agents and even a couple of board members were caught up in her scam. That night, I called an emergency residence meeting. Standing on the community center stage, where Margaret had once presided over frightened families, I announced big changes. Carter Holdings is assuming direct management of Willowbrook, I said. All previous fines are canceled, and anyone who paid will get their money back, with interest. From now on, kids can play, babies can cry, families can live without fear. We're bringing in a professional management team and transparency in every decision. The place erupted. Tears, applause, even a few hugs from parents I'd never met. Margaret, meanwhile, was arrested on the spot. The list of charges, embezzlement, fraud, destruction of property, conspiracy, just kept growing. At her trial, I testified, describing the day she threw Emma's stroller into traffic. Security footage played for the jury. Margaret's only defense was a cold, "I was just doing my job." The jury took 90 minutes. Guilty on all counts. 20 years in state prison, $350,000 in restitution. As she was led away, families cheered. Mrs. Rodriguez, who'd lost her home to Margaret's bullying, cried and whispered, "Justice for all the children." After Margaret's downfall, Willowbrook transformed. Kids played everywhere, parents finally exhaled, and families moved in rather than out. We had our first neighborhood festival, with stroller races and balloon parades. Property values rose. Turns out, happy families are good for business. And state lawmakers took notice. Emma's law was passed, making it illegal for HOAs to target families or create fake child bans. It became a model nationwide. Emma's old stroller, wrecked but now a symbol, sits in Carter Holdings' lobby, a reminder of what happens when you stand up for what's right. Emma's become something of a celebrity. Neighbors wave, kids run to greet her, and Margaret's old rules are nothing but a bad memory. I've changed, too. Undercover life taught me more about leadership than any boardroom ever could. I made sure every Carter Holdings community is now family-friendly by default. Margaret lost everything: her home, her money, even her supporters, who admitted they'd only gone along out of fear. Real estate agents who helped her lost their licenses, and the remaining board members faced civil lawsuits. Today, Willowbrook is the place young families want to be: playgrounds, a pool, walking trails, laughter everywhere. Squeaky wheels are just background music now. Property values shot up, proving kindness and community are worth more than any fake standard. Emma will grow up never knowing a world where her cries are violations, just the sounds of life. Her stroller, once thrown in anger, now stands for resilience. Margaret's cruelty sparked a movement, but our response, standing together, refusing to be bullied, created something lasting and good. So, here's the real question. When you see someone abusing their tiny bit of power, will you stand by, or will you stand up? Drop your thoughts below. Let's talk about what justice, community, and real strength look like to you. And hey, if you've got your own wild HOA story, share it. We're listening.